Hello! Soon we will be studying William Blake's poems, The Lamb and the Tiger. Before we read them and study them, let's review some of the literary devices that we will see in these poems. One of the literary devices that we will want to take note of is syntax. Syntax means sentence structure. Syntax includes sentence types, sentence construction, and active and passive voice. When analyzing written or spoken text, it is always important to note the syntax. There are four basic types of sentences. There are declarative sentences, interrogative sentences, exclamatory sentences, and imperative sentences. When analyzing syntax, we should note the following. Are the sentences declarative? That is, are they statements followed by a period? Here's an example of a declarative sentence. The dog is sitting in his bed. Are the sentences interrogative? That is, are they questions followed by question marks? Here's an example of an interrogative sentence. Where is the dog? Are the sentences exclamatory? That is, are they exclamations followed by an exclamation mark? We have a new puppy! Are the sentences imperative? That is, are they commands followed by exclamation marks? Puppy, stop chewing my student's homework before I grade it. In addition to noticing the sentence types, we need to notice the way that sentences are constructed. The sentence construction is an element of syntax, and there are four basic formats for constructing sentences. We can have simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. Simple sentences are sentences that express one complete thought. An example of a simple sentence is, Jonas went to the bakery. Compound sentences are two sentences that each express a complete thought. Those two sentences are combined into one sentence by using a conjunction or a semicolon. An example of a compound sentence is, Jonas went to the bakery and he purchased 12 dozen chocolate donuts with sprinkles. We also can have complex sentences. A complex sentence has a dependent clause, which is a group of words that contain a noun and a verb that cannot stand alone because they don't provide full meaning, combined with a sentence that does express a complete thought. An example of a complex sentence is, because he wanted a pastry, Jonas went to the bakery. Compound complex sentences combine a compound sentence and a complex sentence. An example of compound complex sentence is this one. Because he wanted a pastry, Jonas went to the bakery and he purchased 12 dozen chocolate donuts with sprinkles. Syntax involves sentence types, sentence construction, and it also involves voice. There are two types of voice we need to talk about, active voice and passive voice. The difference between active and passive voice is whether the subject of the sentence performs the action or receives the action. Active voice is usually the best choice in writing because it's clearer and it's more concise. Active voice complements the English language by following the typical word order of noun, verb, direct object. Here are some examples of active voice. Mr. Hagler welded the new goalpost. The Wildcats won the game. Make a note. The subject of a sentence is a noun that performs an action. In active voice, the noun comes before the verb. In sentence 1, Mr. Hagler is the subject of the sentence. In sentence 2, the Wildcats is the subject. Make another note. A direct object is a person or thing that is the recipient of the action of a verb. Make this note. In sentence 1, goalpost is the direct object. In sentence 2, the game is the direct object. Passive voice is useful for emphasizing the action and the recipient of the action. Here are some examples of passive voice. The new goalpost was welded by Mr. Hagler. The game was won by the Wildcats. Note, while active voice is usually the best choice for sentence construction, passive voice can be employed when one wants to stress the action that has taken place. Let's leave syntax and let's talk about abstract ideas. Abstract ideas, to understand what they are, we need to talk about tangible objects and intangible objects. Tangible objects have a physical form. Tangible objects can be held in the human hand. Intangible objects have no physical form. Intangible objects exist only in the mind. Examples of tangible objects are cell phones, soda cans, pens, and books. Examples of intangible objects are love, hate, fear, courage, jealousy, betrayal, goodness, and evil. Abstract ideas are intangible objects. They have no physical form. Abstract ideas are real things, but they exist only in the human mind. Take a note. It can be difficult to describe abstract ideas. It is difficult to describe the critical attributes, the characteristics of abstract ideas, because we can't see them. On the next slide, we will learn about a literary device that makes it easier to describe abstract ideas. Apostrophe can be more than a punctuation mark. Apostrophe is often thought of as a punctuation mark that is used to form contractions or possessive nouns. Examples of apostrophes used as punctuation marks are, what are the dog's favorite treats? Note the apostrophe in dogs. The apostrophe in dogs shows possession. It shows that the dog owns his treats. Isn't cheese the dog's favorite treat? Note the apostrophe in the word isn't. In this case, isn't forms a contraction for the words is not. Apostrophe does not always refer to punctuation marks. Apostrophe can also refer to the literary device apostrophe. As a literary device, apostrophe occurs when a speaker speaks to an abstract idea. In William Blake's poem, The Lamb, the speaker asks the lamb who created him. The poem speaker is not actually speaking to the lamb. The speaker is addressing the abstract idea of goodness, which is symbolized by the lamb. Because it is difficult to list the critical attributes of goodness, because we can't see goodness, Blake embodied the abstract idea of goodness into the lamb's body, because it's easier to think of the critical attributes of a lamb. For example, his gentleness of spirit, his softness of wool, his sweetness of voice. We can think about those things on a lamb because we can see the lamb. In William Blake's poem, The Tyger, the speaker asks the tiger who created him. The poem speaker is not actually speaking to the tiger. The speaker is addressing the abstract idea of evil, which is symbolized by the tiger. Because it is difficult to list the critical attributes of evil, Blake embodied the abstract idea of evil into the tiger's body because it's easier to think of the critical attributes of a tiger, a thing that we can see. We know he's a predator, he's a carnivore, he's vicious, he has weaponized teeth and claws. As we read William Blake's poems, The Lamb and the Tiger, look for and annotate the topics of this presentation. Think about syntax. What are the sentence types and the sentence structure? Think about active and passive voice. Think about the use of apostrophe as a literary device. Enjoy the read.